Today, I'm so honored to be here chatting with Vera from Sweden. She is going to be sharing with us her inspiring recovery journey from ME CFS, chronic Lyme, and POTS. And her journey had many dramatic ups and downs, and we will learn what pieces of the puzzle finally came together for her to heal and what powerful epiphanies she had along the way. Vera, I'm so excited that you're here sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me. It's truly a pleasure being here. I mean, I've been following you for such a long time, back to the days when I was ill. So it's like personally very, very crazy that I'm now sharing my my story with other people.
Oh, that's so humbling for me to hear. All right. So before we talk about your path out, can you share about your life before you became chronically ill?
Yeah, so it all started 2019 during the autumn. And at the time, I'd say I was living a very hectic and chaotic life. I was studying 200% at the uni. At the same time, I was having, I think, 3 to 4 part-time jobs aside of that. And yeah, I was taking my driving license and I was moving and I had all these bad relationships going on. And now when I look back, I can see I had all these patterns, like I wasn't meeting my own needs, I wasn't clear with my boundaries, I was suppressing emotions, and yeah, clearly very stressed. And at this time, I was also getting sick a lot. I very easily got infections and I had tonsil inflammation problems that just came all the time. And each time I would get sick, it would last for like at least 2 weeks. So I'd say I had a very bad immune system.
Well, that sounds very intense. You're studying like crazy. You're working all these part-time jobs. So you have the physical stress and then you have the emotional stress with the relationships. That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
So the wheels started to fall off with you getting sick more and more frequently, longer, and you just thought, oh, I have a bad immune system.
Yeah.
So when or what was the straw that finally broke the camel's back?
I wouldn't say that it was like a virus that got me ill. I think it was just a buildup of like stress and bad coping mechanisms. And I remember the first time I was like in contact with CFS. That was when I was at this seminar in the uni, which is also like an hour away from Stockholm. And I was just sitting there and suddenly I just checked out. Like I wasn't in contact with the world, or I couldn't hear the teacher. And the most horrifying part was that I couldn't be in contact with my own thoughts. And this is how I've been trying to explain severe brain fog, like this some kind of veil between you and the world, but there's also like a veil between you and your own thoughts somehow. So you're just like stuck in this very claustrophobic space with all the pain you're going through. So yeah, I didn't know what was going on, but I started to just pump my body with sugar and caffeine and painkillers just to, I don't know, cope. And then at the way home, I was at this train and I remember just like feeling like a bag of trash. And I was for the first time in my life, like judging my capacity to stand up. Like I just freaked out. I felt like I'm not going to be able to walk off this train. I'm probably gonna even die at this train before it gets to my station. Like that was a serious thought I had. I just, felt like this zombie. And it was really scary, and it started all these stress responses, and I suddenly got really scared of the world and of people, and it just felt like a nightmare. I got home eventually and just hoped that this would be gone when I woke up. But I woke up, and I don't know if you read this Kafka book where there's a man who wakes up and he's a bug and he just can't get out of bed. That was like a true nightmare. And that was sort of my reality from that moment. Yeah.
Wow. And I'm sure many people here will relate to not knowing what was going on. For me, I had a similar experience where I all of a sudden felt like I couldn't go on. I was walking and I felt like I couldn't go on another step.
It's so scary to suddenly not trust your body anymore. Yeah, that's a real scary experience. Will my legs even carry me? Yeah.
All right. So it sounds like you woke up and what we now know is a crash.
Yeah.
So did it get better or did you stay like that?
No, it stayed like that. And I got even more symptoms. For me, the major part was the brain fog and the brain fatigue. And I had this crazy dizziness also. It was almost like each minute the room would spin like 10 times. And obviously, I got very nauseous and I was fainting quite a lot. And then obviously, I was very fatigued physically also. I got the tinnitus, extreme insomnia. I think there was one time when I didn't sleep for like 7 days. And I read somewhere that the world record is 8 or something. So I almost took the world record in not sleeping.
Not when you
Yeah,
want to win. Not when you want to win.
no,
Oh my gosh. The insomnia.
yeah,
That's crazy. 7 days. I had it bad, but that's probably the most extreme I've heard.
yeah,
Being so physically exhausted and then not being able to sleep.
yeah, that was really tough.
Were you even able to see doctors at this time? You were so dizzy. Could you even get in a car to see the doctors?
Yeah, I think the thing for me was that I could always push myself to technically do things. Like I could push myself to go and like buy groceries or whatever, but it was never without difficulty, of course. But yeah, I was very lucky that there was a CFS clinic in Stockholm. It doesn't exist anymore, but there was this clinic, so I got in touch with doctors quite easy. And I got the diagnosis, I think, 6 months later.
So what did the doctor say at the CFS clinic that you pushed yourself to go see?
So the doctors were mentioning that you will probably not recover from this. And I just got so furious that someone could say that. At the time, I was 22. Like, obviously, I got super depressed and lost all hope. Yeah, and I'm still quite angry about that approach. The doctors don't even keep track on people who recover. So how can they say that you won't recover when they don't have the data? You know what I mean?
Yeah, did the doctor come and follow you and see your progress? No,
No.
they just, they never follow up long-term with people. But I could feel the anger and I feel angry. It's very legitimate to be angry about this for anyone of any age to be told that. You were 22 at the time.
Yeah, yeah, that was a difficult age to,
That's the
you know,
start of your life.
yeah, you have so much expectations on you from like society and from family and from friends, and you just see all your friends just thriving and living their lives, and you kind of stuck in this nightmare. So that was really hard. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So I just want to do a quick run through of your symptoms because some people listening, they really want to know so they can
Yes.
relate. So you had the severe brain fog, the very severe insomnia, you had the dizziness. It sounds like you were bedbound, housebound, but you were able to push yourself in short bursts to do things.
Yes.
Did you have post-exertional crashes? Like, let's say you went to the grocery store, you stayed a little long at the grocery store. Did you ever crash from that or?
Yeah, like all the time. But it was also quite unclear sometimes when you would crash and when you wouldn't. Because sometimes I could do the same task, but not crash one time and crash another time. So that made it really tricky to sort of, figure out what was going on. Yeah. But yeah, the symptoms, those were the main ones. And obviously physical fatigue also.
Yeah. I know some people are like, oh, CFS, it's not just fatigue. I'm like, but fatigue is also there. It's also a big one
Yeah.
in addition to all the other stuff, right? So when did you figure out that you could have POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome? I know dizziness is associated with it. It's when you have issues sitting to standing and your heart races. Did you get a diagnosis for that at the CFS clinic, or was that later?
No, it was at the same time. So they did some kind of pill test,
Mhm.
and they just told me like you have POTS, and that was it. So
Did they give you any tips to manage it? Did they say like,
no,
oh,
no, not really. Actually, I think they didn't. They just told me what my life would be like. Sort of like you will, yeah, feel nauseous, and it got very often like black. So no.
okay. Oh my gosh. Oh.
Yes, oh my gosh.
Since the medical route, it just told you no hope, there's nothing you can do. What'd you do in terms of trying to find your path out in the beginning?
Well, first I took the doctor's advice, like the B12 injections, and I also took Q10. But those, I very quickly stopped taking them because I just found that the whole act of going and get the injections would just take more energy than it would give. So
Thank you for saying that. Thank you so
yeah,
much for saying that. I think it's not said enough. To be able
yeah,
to drive to a clinic, and then who else is at the clinic? People who are really sick, really sad. And so it's not good vibes in these clinics. And then you get just some vitamins. I mean, sometimes they can be beautiful, nurturing, healing, validating environments for some people. And I totally respect that. But for some of us, it's like, it's not worth it.
yeah, and I felt that it was also quite like vulnerable thing to do to go and get these injections. It gave me such bad energy. So yeah, I just decided to stop, and it didn't really help me very much either. So yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
That's so interesting that the energy of it can matter. So if someone would feel nurtured by this, but it sounds like it felt like you were giving your power, someone else was trying to give you your power. How would, yeah,
I mean, throughout my whole journey, that was something that was really important to me to not get reminded that I was feeling shit from the world or from other people or from doctors. I was very, yeah, very, I just didn't feel good about that. So I even asked people sometimes, like, can you not ask me how are you, for example, because I don't want to answer that question. Yeah, I'm sure many of us
yeah.
can relate to.
That's so interesting that you say that. I really relate. Yeah, if it's an environment, oh, you poor thing, you're so sick, here's this thing, or like, how are you doing? Like, how are you doing? I got that. I'm like, I just started to lie. I was like, yeah, I went golfing.
Yeah, but that question holds so much. Like, how are you
Oh,
today?
yes.
Like, what do you mean? It can mean so much. Yeah, so for me, I just found it difficult to get reminded of those. And it has nothing to do with not accepting the illness, actually, because I really did accept.
Yeah, there's better questions you could ask. It could be, I don't know, because if you're very severely ill, there's not much that you can chat about with someone, if that's even in your window of what you can tolerate. But it could also just be funny. It could be like, oh, did you see anything funny online? If that person is able to look online. So I don't know, but what would you say would have been better if people asked? I don't know.
Just be with me as you always have been, I guess, and we can yeah, talk about other things. And of course, I want people around me to be involved in my in my illness, but more in a way where they can support rather than, no, I don't know, take me down, if that makes sense.
Ooh,
I don't know if other people have felt the same, but sometimes I felt that people would come over to me because everyone knew that I didn't have a schedule. I didn't have a job. So I was always home and I was always available. So people would sometimes come over to like have someone to hang out with or like talk with about their problems. And then whenever they would ask me something, it was always related to the illness.
yeah. So it was more like they're like, here, let me vent about my problems, and then I'll let you vent. And you're like, actually,
Yeah.
I just want to talk about funny stuff.
Do things like
Yes.
there's so much you can do also. Like in my state, we could watch a movie, or we can, I don't know, maybe take me out to nature or something, like do something with me. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm starting to tear up on the inside because I think it's also because people don't really know. But yeah, sitting with someone, if they can do that, take them in your car. Hopefully, your car doesn't have any toxic smells in it because people can be sensitive. But taking someone into nature, sitting with them, having a picnic with foods they can eat.
Yeah, and
That's
also like invite me to a party, even though I might not be able to go, but the invitation means a lot and stuff like that.
yes,
Yeah.
it gets lonely. And did you feel lonely? I guess all your friends.
Yeah, a lot. Like I was living alone. So yeah, I was very lonely. And I had friends over sometimes and I had family over sometimes, but it was a struggle, definitely. But other things I was trying, speaking of that, I tried also Chinese medicine at one point. I was doing these herbs, taking these herbs.
Was it like a local place or?
Yeah, it was a local place,
Okay.
and I just gave it a shot, but it was quite expensive, so I didn't follow through. But yeah, I remember like drinking this really nasty thing, and it was so nasty that I needed to have like 5 or 6 tablespoons of sugar in it to be able to even take it because it was so bad. But yeah, and then I also signed up at this ANS program. You've heard of that?
Yeah, so that's Dan Newfir's program, ANS Rewire. How'd you find out about that one?
I don't remember. I think it was through maybe your channel or Real and Eagle or something. But yeah, I just remember I started it, and for me, the sessions were quite long in his program, I remember. So I just didn't follow through.
Yeah, the videos are like 30 minutes, right?
I don't remember like very
Yeah.
clearly. But yeah, I remember I didn't follow through. But I mean, I learned a lot from it anyway. But that was all I was trying. I also signed up at the CFS school at one point, but I didn't follow through that either.
So CFS School was Jen and Cardin's old
Yeah,
program, right? And that has brain training and also some somatic, which is kind of body up to brain
yeah,
practices. So you didn't follow through then either. Yeah, and I really appreciate you admitting that because a lot of us don't follow through for everything you have. And
yeah,
I did ANS Rewire and I learned a lot, and a lot of the things from his program were ultimately things I incorporated into my recovery, but the videos were a little bit long for my brain capacity at the time. It sounds like for you as well. But I was still on the supplement route at the time. What was preventing you from going all in? Was it just the brain fog or was it something else?
yeah. I think it was the brain fog mostly, and also this, I don't know, I just had a resistance towards doing things. I think I was really depressed. So I just, lost the, I don't know, the spark or whatever you say.
Yeah, the spark, the
Um,
drive. Yeah.
yeah,
Totally understand.
it was really nice though. But I think, yeah, it was a self-study program. So I didn't have the energy to push myself through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, they more benefit from group accountability. Some people are lone wolves. So it's whatever resonates with you. And even for an individual person, what we need at one point might be different what we need at another point too. Okay, so you have awareness of what you don't like, what vibes you don't like, but did you ever have any epiphanies of what might be the path out for you?
Yeah, so I had like two clear moments.
Mm,
So there came a point, like with the risk of sounding very dramatic and maybe even triggering to some people, where I was so depressed and I just went in circles with things. So the thought of like not living anymore was tempting, and it was tempting every day. So I actually put like an end date on me, like 1 year ahead, with a very strict promise to myself that I would spend every single hour of the days looking for the key out of this nightmare. And that, like, personally, that just gave me a little relief, knowing that the suffering would end one way or another. And it also gave, like, every hour some kind of meaning. And I don't mean to inspire, absolutely not. This was just my journey and a part of it. So from this moment, I was very occupied with doing my research. I cut out every bad energy out of my life, and I watched every single video out there. I contacted like tons of people and investigating things that all these people would have in common. So just a break.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Mm.
My heart goes out to you, and I really appreciate that you were so honest and vulnerable with me, because I'm sure many people can sadly relate. And I can see how you also turned it into something that gave you the drive to live. So I don't want to say it was like bad or good. I'm just saying this is your story.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like a good idea to post, because I don't want anyone to get any ideas.
So Vera and I were both concerned about keeping this sensitive part in, but Vera did say she trusted me to edit this, and I decided to keep it in because I want to be truthful. And the second reason is because I want doctors and charity leaders to see that while validating the suffering of ME/CFS patients is important, when you go so far as to take away all hope and recovery, how much despair and harm it can cause. And it's not even right, because you'll learn there is a lot of hope, and you know that if you've been watching my channel. And also to you who is listening, know that your life has so much value in this moment right now, and it is inherent regardless of what you're able to physically do. Just please do not put any kind of deadlines on yourself. I hope you can find ways you can feel empowered and find the spark that keeps you going. Perhaps watching this video will lead to a big spark for you, or maybe it plants a seed of hope. You're going to really want to keep listening, because Vera's next major turning point, which she reveals just in a few minutes from now, is one of the most powerful I've ever heard.
Yeah, so, but this really made things go forward when I started to really do my own research in my own way. So, for instance, yeah, I would contact like anyone and everyone, and I watched every shared story out there, both listening to why people got ill, but also what they did to recover. And what I came across was that everyone seemed to have like certain things in common. So first of all, everyone seemed to have like a life prior to the illness, dealing with a lot of stress, difficulty meeting their own needs, difficulty honoring their boundaries, repression of emotions, difficulty living sort of aligned with their true selves, and some even had traumatic events in their past. And all this was also usually followed by a weakened immune system. And then what I could see was helping a lot of people to recover was mostly about doing the work, changing behavioral patterns. Like we hear often brain retraining as a technique to do that. And they would do emotional work, sometimes even trauma work. And I could feel that I really resonated with these kinds of backgrounds. And when I really thought about it, I wasn't so surprised that I had gotten sick in this illness. And it felt like an attempt from the body to keep me safe from my reality somehow. And I think this is an interesting topic, because we very often talk about like what virus got you ill. But yeah, in my opinion, there's a buildup of so much like stress and heaps of things. And then you get sick very often, and then eventually there's this virus that's just a tipping point. What do you think?
Yeah. And it sounds like you went about this like scientists should be going about this. Let's look at all the stories. And it feels very empowered the way you did it, because you're like, let me figure this out for myself. And then you're coming to these conclusions based on all the research you're doing by listening to these people's testimonies, speaking to people or chatting with them, finding what they had in common and what got them out. And yeah, who had the EBV and the Lyme and the this and the that, there can be overlaps there. That's a tipping point usually for ME/CFS, but yeah, not living aligned, not staying true to your boundaries in this major buildup of stress, and also how we interact in the world. And you had kind of alluded to something. You had said, yeah, brain retraining can help us as a modality, but ultimately, what you seem to have suggested is that we have to change to be the person we're meant to versus the person we were living before that got into this mess.
Yeah, and I think also maybe the medical researching is also focusing a lot at like what virus, instead of maybe go a little bit further.
Yeah, I think that's really important to ask the medical community to expand their definition of biomedical and expand their definition of research to include actual people's life.
Yeah, totally. And listen to patients also, like listen to us recovered. But I had this other, yeah, like epiphany.
Okay. Before we get to
Yeah.
that, there's going to be some people listening and being like, oh, my doctors never thought it was a virus. They just told me it was psychosomatic and all in my head, and I was just making these symptoms up, or it was just anxiety and I needed to talk to a therapist and then I'd be better. And so there's that experience that a lot of people have.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think that's super problematic, of course. That's not at all. It's not like either it's in your head or either it's in your body. You are one. And yeah, that's super problematic that we get that approach from society also. I was hearing that all the time from people like, oh, just get your shit together. We've
Mhm.
all heard those things. And like, yeah, I think the best questions were like, oh, have you tried a painkiller? Or have you tried to drink more water? Or like, oh, you're just thinking so negatively. Like, get your shit together. So no.
And it's interesting because it sounds like you were trying so hard to have your shit together, and that's why you got into this mess, because you were trying to hold it all together.
Yeah.
It's like, don't tell people with ME/CFS to get their shit together because we were trying to hold on to too much shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, people's comments. Oh my gosh. I know it's traumatic, but by now it's just like, oh my gosh, the comments that people make.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
So yeah, I like that. We are one. It all matters, but it's not just like in your mind, it's not just like this one virus. It's the whole picture of our lives
Yeah.
can impact every cell in our body. Okay, so now you said you had a second epiphany. What was your second epiphany?
So there was this day when I was, just laying in bed and having all kinds of pains and the worst symptoms. And I was just so depressed and so down. I was thinking sometimes like there's a demon that has taken over my body or something. Like this just can't be me. I don't know what I've done. But suddenly in that moment, I got my period. Uh, and I just got so angry. Like, okay, how can you produce and have the energy to give me my period, but I don't have the energy to sit up and drink water? Like, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. So from that second, I just started to like rethink. And I mean, I was starting to think that our bodies are so advanced, designed to heal and protect and survive. So maybe that was what my body was trying to do. I just felt maybe it's me who doesn't understand you. Maybe it's not you who doesn't listen to me and my words. And
Ooh.
that also gave me like another thought, like why am I speaking to my body as it's something separate, like you or the demon or whatever? It's yeah. So from that moment, I put my hands on my belly and thought that whatever I have believed and been thinking around my body hasn't been helpful. So I decided to, yeah, sort of think differently, and at least for a while. So I asked my body, like, what do you want? And yeah, I immediately realized that it's not about, yeah, what you want, it's about what we want. And I also realized that I don't think, yeah, I'm not including my body as something I'm connected to. I've just seen it as a like a function and something that's wrong and needs like medicine. So yeah, that was when I sort of started to talk to my body and listen to its language.
Wow. That is one of the most powerful epiphanies I have ever heard. And that's realizing you're one with your body versus something you're fighting against or something other, something separate.
Mm.
Wow. And that just your time of the month, your period,
Yeah.
you're like, my body can do all of this every month. And it actually does have some knowledge, and I haven't been listening to it. And I've been trying to get my body to listen to me, but I'm going to start listening to my body, and we're one. Wow. That is,
And just listen and be curious. You don't have to like get an answer or listen in a way where you are thinking what the answer would be. You know what I mean? Like, just be curious. And further on, I just started to like really easy connect physically with my body by maybe after I had a shower, I would put lotion on just to like touch myself because I've never done that really before. And yeah, create like a physical connection. I started to give myself healthy food without expecting some kind of result, just as an act of love. And then this love sort of showed up in other new ways. For instance, I suddenly stood up for myself in situations, like in social situations, and it just started to grow. And that was really beautiful.
oh my gosh. And you're just radiating talking about it. And yeah, starting by showing yourself love, and then that can transform into your relationships and how you show up in the world. Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay. So this sounds like a major shift and transformation. So did you end up going back to any of the specific programs, or was it just your own being tuned in?
It was a time where I learned more about somatics, and I was interested in the idea that our bodies should feel safe only through senses and not through thinking or verbal communication. So I would like create a cozy environment like at home and do body scannings, and which often led to emotional releases. And yeah, I would just expose myself to situations where I would feel things like through senses, like just going down to the water and like put my feet in the water and close my eyes or something like that. And just get in contact with the body, because I've never been in contact with my body before. I've never been in contact even with emotions. I've been very numb prior to CFS. So and suddenly I started to take longer walks and do more activity, but the brain fog and the up and downs still remained. So, and this is where I found the MBR.
So I'm a mom, my kid's at preschool right now, just in the mornings. And one of his favorite things to do is just stand in our sink and let the water run on his hands.
Yeah,
My Xander. And it's just like these little kids, they're just so in tune with their senses.
that's so beautiful.
It's seeing like how the kids are so connected with nature, and then our whole schooling system takes them away from that. And
Yeah, and like
eventually,
the body
yeah,
knows why it's doing what it's doing.
yeah,
Or your kids doing that, like their body, like,
yeah.
yeah, they know.
So earlier you mentioned MBR. Can you explain what that is and how you discovered it?
So at this stage, I started to take longer walks and do more activity and stuff, but I still had very severe brain fog and up and downs. And this is where I found the MBR, and that stands for the Mind Body Reconnect. and is a therapy that addresses the connection between the mind and the body, and it teaches us how to engage with our emotional intelligence. And in my first session with my therapist, Veronica Maurel, I was very stunned that I, for the first time ever, heard someone speak about my condition in a way that was actually like logic. It made sense. And I've been reading so many research papers and talking to so many doctors, but this was the first time someone resonated with what I was actually feeling. So that was huge. Yeah, so I was thinking I will just share some like sort of fun information that was included in my journey.
Yeah.
So there was this day when I went to the CFS clinic for, I don't know, I don't remember what reason. I think it was for the tonsil issue. And there was a new doctor there, and he was a professor in virus and infectious diseases. And I started to, I was so frustrated about this whole thing that everyone was saying that you can't recover. And then, I just Google on YouTube, like recover ME/CFS, and there's like heaps of people recovering all the time. So I just started to rant my ideas to this doctor.
So you were ranting to this doctor. So you were still going to the CFS clinic to get your injections and things like that. How long did you stay going to this clinic?
I went maybe twice a year, maybe. But then I had this issue with the tonsils,
Okay,
and
so
they
you,
offered
okay.
some help with that. So I went back to the clinic, and I met this doctor there, who is this professor in viruses and infection diseases.
Infectious diseases, yeah.
And yeah, I started to rant for him just like for 2 hours about my ideas. And I was so angry at this clinic. Like, why are you telling people they can't recover? And I told him maybe this is the body's way to communicate something. Maybe it's the body's way to keep us safe somehow, because we were not listening. And after that session, after that 2 hours, he sent me a several page long letter about a week later, and he said that he was very like inspired, and that during his whole career for 40 years of researching on viruses affecting the body, he have never heard anything more relevant and interesting. That I had sort of given an answer to a very big question he's had during his career. So, and he even said something like he's always haven't been able to understand how one virus could cause that much damage in the way that, yeah, we experience CFS. He said it didn't make sense to him either. So he invited me to speak at this conference in the County Council House here in Stockholm in front of many, many researchers in neurology and psychology. And that was really big to have a doctor listening to a patient. And then he invited me to this. And after the speech, plenty of doctors and researchers were like grabbing me, and they were interested in certain collaborations, and they wanted to hear more. And yeah, they just started to even like reveal their own critique within their own sort of system, that like a lot of doctors are unable to try new directions and perspectives when it comes to research.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That is amazing. And props for just going on that rant to that doctor. And the fact that instead of being like, no, I'm the doctor, you're the patient, he actually listened, it planted a seed,
Yeah.
and then he was like, wow, I had maybe noticed some of these things, but he was in his viruses and infections mode. And that something you said got him to open his mind, change his perspective. And then other doctors were inspired to start questioning beyond their little bubbles and start to look for connections among the fields, and also these deeper questions of humanity and how we're not just a bunch of different parts.
Yeah, it was very huge. Yeah, that they were actually listening to a patient. And yeah, just what you say.
I love cognitively flexible people. It always really inspires me when I hear about someone who is going about one route and then here's a new perspective and that opens their perspective instead of them fighting it.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
openness and that questioning and that collaborative mindset, that's what I want to see in science. Because, yeah, it would be nice. Maybe the virus does have some type of role, and that emotions and the way we live our life, and we can all just learn from one another.
Yeah, and like a part of what I told them at this conference was you have to reach out to people who have recovered. There's a huge community out there because the traditional healthcare system is sort of failing to offer help to everyone who seeks help. So that's why you also exist, this big community. So they need to broader, what do you say?
Broaden their horizons.
Yeah. There's so much valuable knowledge out here.
I didn't get a chance to thank Vera for her nice words here in the interview, but I heard them again and wanted to say thank you because, yeah, that is my purpose, to get the knowledge out there because our healthcare system does fail us.
So I want to loop back because when we were first communicating, you had mentioned you also received the diagnosis of Lyme disease.
Yeah.
So was that something the CFS clinic found as well?
No, I just thought that I could have it because I'm not vaccinated and we have Borrelia all over Sweden. So I got in contact with some clinic in Germany
Mm-hmm.
and I was sending my blood tests to them and they responded say that, yeah, you have Lyme. So, but I was never able to know the difference between the Lyme and the CFS really. For me, it was just one. But I never took any treatment for it. They offered some kind of treatment that seemed quite scary.
What was that?
I don't know, actually. I still have it in my kitchen. But I was starting to feel so much better, so I didn't have the courage to try it because it had a lot of side effects.
I was in a similar boat, but it was something else. It was SIBO, and the doctor prescribed me all these heavy duty antibiotics. And I read the side effects and I was like, I couldn't do it. I was like, I couldn't live with myself. I was listening to my body, and my gut was like, don't do it, Liz. So it sounds like you knew your body, you knew what was working for you at this time.
Yeah, I learned a little bit about Borrelia. I think if you have Borrelia, you probably also have a co-infection with it. So they said that my Borrelia was quite fine. My body is handling it fine, but the co-infection is like a 9 out of 10. But yeah, I don't know. I never took the medicine, so
Yeah. I also think we can live in harmony with these things because our bodies are an ecosystem, and it's also how our bodies respond to it.
yeah. I would love to learn more though about Lyme.
But it sounds like what you were doing was working. So you were already seeing lots of improvement from the self-discovery work you were doing on your own and being more in tune with your body and somatic practices.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about some of the things you learned from Veronica working with her? You said you had a really powerful first session.
Yes, so the theory of mind-body reconnect, I'd say it holds a very gentle perspective of healing where we see emotions and symptoms as communication from the body. And that the key here is learning how to engage and listen to what our bodies are trying to tell us. And I mean, let's not forget that our bodies hold a major emotional intelligence that we, in today's society, we tend to ignore quite a lot, I would say. And this work lies very much on the idea to interact and listen to this intelligence. And our bodies and nervous systems are advanced designed to and intended to constantly and tirelessly keeps us safe. Using coping mechanisms it has acquired so far throughout our lifetime, where long-term stress and traumatic events can cause the nervous system to remain in a state of heightened alertness, activating defense responses such as fight or flight and freeze. And these can over time affect the body's ability to self-regulate and find comfort. And if not addressed, this constant state of survival mode can cause symptoms such as inflammation and pain and anxiety, and fatigue and eventually lead to chronic health conditions. So repression of emotions or unresolved trauma can contribute to this state when the body remains in a constant state of perceived threats.
And there's a lot of research on that. There's like the cell danger response research, but all the research coming out, a lot of it is showing the nervous system. And when we're in that alert state, it can, as you said, trigger inflammation. And inflammation is a necessary part of healing. When you get a wound, it gets inflamed and then it heals. But for these chronic illnesses, it's not completing the healing cycle because the body is still sensing the danger or it got stuck in that danger mode.
Yeah, that's how it is.
So this program, it seems very logical based on our experiences and also the science as well. So is it just like talks you have with the practitioner, and what's the time commitment?
Yeah, so we do one-to-one online coaching sessions.
Okay.
And yeah, completely tailored to whatever fits the client. But usually we do like 8 or more sessions weekly, one per week. And like whatever suits the person, of course. And we know some people don't have the energy to even like have a video call for an hour, but yeah, we make it possible for everyone. Yeah, it's been very successful.
That's so wonderful. I think personalization and also that human connection can be so valuable, because you were saying you tried to do a program on your own, and that human connection can also be healing in itself too, having someone to tailor something for you. Yeah.
Yeah, personally, I really needed that, the coaching to finish it and to really dedicate myself to it. A year ago, I started to study for the Mind Body Reconnect for Claire Cardwell, becoming a practitioner also to work.
And that's so inspiring to hear that out of the hell you've been through, that you are now a source of hope and wisdom and guidance and support for others and have a new mission in life. And that's really cool to see. So yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool to be in this position. Yeah, and be healed.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit more about your life now?
This is what I want to dedicate myself to most of the time, but I'm also finishing my degree in the uni just to have it finished. Yeah, I'm living in Stockholm and living my normal life now. I'm traveling, I'm quite active, I would say, doing lots of sports, and it's so cool to finally be able to just do whatever you want without the fear of crashing.
That's so wonderful. Any recent trips that you've been on this year, or?
Yeah, I've been in Australia.
Oh,
Yeah. And yeah, I've been to Norway as well, Italy,
Italy.
and I have another step during my recovery I can share if you want.
Yeah.
Okay, it was when I realized that you can have CFS and be sick other places than home in your bed. This was a very big moment for me when I sort of felt that that was okay. I was invited to go on a holiday trip, and beforehand, I completely freaked out, and I could only imagine like catastrophe, that like what if I don't sleep, and what if I feel shit, and what if I let people down by being super self-absorbed, only thinking about my symptoms or something. And then what happened was exactly that. Like I didn't sleep and I did feel like a bag of trash, but I did it in a new, beautiful environment. And there was no big difference for me in crashing, laying down in the grass for some hours or like on a bench, because people in this world are amazing, and people don't care, because that what you think that you will like embarrass yourself, or you will get stuck somewhere, but people really offer help and support. And in the end of the day, no one will think about that sick girl they met earlier. Like they will think about their own problems. And for me, who had this great level of social anxiety, this was very relieving. And then after this trip, I started to, go on even more trips to, yeah, Italy and Norway. And I started to get more confidence and stimulants in my life. Yeah, when I changed the perspective of being sick. that you don't have to just be in your bed all the time.
And that was a part of your healing. I really appreciate you sharing that because I wasn't necessarily socially anxious, but like you, I didn't want to be the Debbie Downer because I like to, when I'm out with friends, be the funny one and things like that and make people laugh. And I feel a lot of pressure to be always on for people. But
Yeah.
so I was just kind of disappeared for 3 years.
Yeah, but you need stimulants.
Yeah, positive stimulation. And I think when we have ME/CFS, a lot of us, we get into hermit mode and because we're feeling terrible. But yeah, I started to build my confidence. And I remember it was awkward, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to sit right here on the sidewalk. It's being cool with it. And that was part of my healing too. Like being able to say, okay, I'm taking an Uber 1 block. Bye, guys. And they were just like, it's okay. And even if someone did say something, like, who cares? It's like what you said. Would I rather be sitting on my couch or would I be doing this somewhere else?
It's also obvious, of course, like not so easy done because sometimes you just can't.
Yeah.
But I think like just laying down in your couch 7 days a week and at the same time being stressed or like overthink, that's everything but resting.
Yeah.
You need also mental rest and creative rest and spiritual rest, and of course also physical rest. And then the opposite, like stimulants. I think, yeah, I was just afraid that maybe it sounded like I make it too easy or something to like just go out and stimulants and everything. Like,
Okay, so you're not just saying like, just go outside and get some fresh air and all will be well.
yeah, I mean that's what everyone says, and now I'm the one who says it. Like I don't mean it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were there, yes. But now that I think of it, like, why didn't I ask to be taken into like, why didn't I go to a park and just lay on the grass?
Yeah, like obviously that's, I mean, some people can't even, I couldn't even sometimes stand up. It's not that easy, but I just mean that there's probably something that you
Mhm.
can change in your environment at the moment. Like you can cuddle up with cozy pillows and just, you can do something to relax and like make your thinking brain step away for a while and just be in the in the body because yeah.
Yeah, whether it's comfy pillows, whatever's in your zone. Yes. And like you said, we're not saying like, go try to walk outside if you
No,
can't.
no,
We
it's so
understand.
difficult. Yeah.
We've been there and know, but if it's possible and if it's in your window of tolerance, consider an openness to try different things in safe environments, knowing.
You can always just check in with your body. You can lay in that couch and you can notice like, oh, I'm really overthinking right now. Then try to check in with the body, and it might be uncomfortable in the beginning, but this, yeah, this overthinking and the stress is very tiring.
Yeah. And I like how you mentioned that it can be uncomfortable because when I first started doing any type of body scan meditation, you can start to really feel the stuff. And then when you lose that tension, then you start to really feel it can be intense.
Yeah, it was for me too. I think I got a panic attack like the first 10 times I was checking in with my emotions because I was so new to it.
Yeah, it can be intense, especially if, like you said, you hadn't ever done that before. But then eventually it gets better. And then it was a source of healing for you. So, Vera, did you have any final message to people watching?
Yeah, there's so much to cover and so much to say, but first I just want to express my gratitude saying how important like your work is spreading all this knowledge on your channel. And yeah, also considering that the traditional medical system is set up and operates in a way that pretty much, or at least very often ignore people who have recovered. So to every single one of you out there, I know that you can heal. And what I've come to learn is that regardless of what stage you're at, whether you feel like you're at a point of total confusion or overwhelm, or even complete hopelessness, which is a place I personally have known, There is a way to improve, and there are methods that have really helped me and like many other people to fully recover. And personally, I can't wait to help other people in the same way I have been helped.
Wow, Vera, thank you so much for sharing your beautiful message and your powerful story. It's so inspiring. You're so honest and authentic, and so many powerful epiphanies you shared. This interview will really help so many people, inspire them, and also feel less alone. And again, it is my privilege and honor that you reached out and could share this wisdom with others. It's like a ripple effect, and you're part of that to bring in some change. So it doesn't have to be as hard for the next person, but I really appreciate your powerful story.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's been an honor.
And how can people best reach you?
Yeah, so you can reach me through either my website, which is verambr.com, and you can also email me at veraliljevalk, like in one word, .mbr@gmail.com. And I also
Okay.
have an Instagram called Mind Body Avenue.
Ooh, okay. I'll put that in the description below. All right. I hope you have a good rest of your evening over there in Sweden.
And you have a great day.
All right. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh, that was so good. That was so beautiful.
Please share your thoughts in the comments below. The written transcript of our interview is coming out soon on healwithliz.com. Thank you for watching, and remember, no matter how horrible it feels, meet your body where it's at, trust in your body's ability to heal, and know that other people made it out just like you. Also, if you've tried many things and are struggling, I want to say I know you're doing your best. I will continue to share stories, support research, and send my deepest support to you.